All right, welcome to the Chiro Companion. With me I have James Knock, Liam Jimison, and Ashley Chapman, and of course myself. We're going to have a conversation in the middle of Lyceum, which has been going great. So welcome along, James. We're going to sneak him into the final day. He's been away locoming today and working yesterday because he's the most dedicated of us.
Wake up, you need to make money.
So we've all just checked ourselves. Everyone's kind of had a bit of a chiro party. We've been having a good time. So we're all, our innate is flowing, ideas are going, and we're going to have a good conversation. So welcome along.
I was just thinking about that. Like, it's quite funny because we just checked ourselves, and it's true because you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, we just checked each other would probably be a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Very good. So this morning Dr. Phil started out the Saturday with really, really good talk. I really, really enjoyed it. But he was basically talking about how the whiz and how whiz things whiz together and how stuff makes whiz.
And if you can change the way it whizzes, then you're going to have a good time.
Exactly. So.
And the whiz is the way you is.
Exactly.
The whiz is the way you is, and it's basically that all things vibrate to a certain thing, so you're all just a bunch of vibrators. His words, not mine.
They actually were his words, which is brilliant. And then Heidi followed it up later in the day by agreeing.
Yeah.
And then talking about a pelvic floor study. Brilliant.
Otherwise known as pussy probes.
But literally. Again, her words, not yours. James, you missed out.
Yeah, well, I'll have to get those CDs out from the library and listen to them. Might catch up.
You'll just catch up now. We'll just talk about
you
that.
can have access to the CDs at the library.
Wow, I can just walk in there.
He knows some people who know some people.
But now I'm excited to go tomorrow though. Who's speaking tomorrow?
Shubnul.
Shubel.
Yeah.
Shubel. I can't actually say his name.
You couldn't say my name when it was live on Facebook as always, like James Nook. It's Nook.
And this is David Cranny.
So, no, I'd like to meet him, mate. It seems like an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
I want to talk to him about his mission trips. Have you guys?
They've got pamphlets and stuff out for them too.
Is it just for students? Because that's, from my
I don't think
understanding,
so.
it takes like 10 doctors and then one student per doctor, right? So I imagine it'd be quite competitive to get in there as a doctor, maybe. I don't know.
Potentially. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know.
I think he does enough of them that there's definitely opportunity there.
Otherwise, just offer to organise one with him and just be the primary.
Yeah.
He'd be open to that. He's a cool guy.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's got a great name.
He does. Such a funny cat.
Schnooble, is it?
No, Liam.
Liam.
Oh, Leah.
The Shubelnator, he called himself or something.
Yeah, Shubinator. Very cool guy.
He's got 19 practices, opening up his 20th soon.
Wow.
Something to
I've
aspire
got
to.
19 patients.
Yeah.
Let's get 20 soon.
So good.
That is awesome. That is too funny.
So what's new with life and stuff since we spoke last bit?
Nothing's majorly new with life. I mean, my practice is kind of like when I saw you, I had my busiest week ever, which was really cool, and that's actually maintained. Which is
Actually,
great.
we had our busiest week ever last week.
Nice, congratulations. Feels good though, right?
I think so as well.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's
High fives all
something changing in the
round.
universe.
Yeah, I think it's spring.
Feels good.
I genuinely think it's spring. People are starting to move and feel
Get out of the
crap.
house again.
I don't know. I think it's very easy to come up with any type of excuse to
It's true.
reason why you are
Rationalisation.
busy or why you're not busy. You just kind of find some kind of correlation.
Yeah, it's true.
Olivia Volley put it up the other day on Facebook, which was the
Change the saying of "I don't have time" to "It's not a priority."
Oh yeah.
I love
which
that.
is brilliant because that's actually the
Yeah.
truth. Or the same thing. I don't have enough money. Is the same thing. It's just not a
How do I
priority.
afford
to me.
that? Is the other way to say that.
Yeah, how do I afford it? I mean, for me, it makes more sense that it's not a
Positive
priority.
though.
Because
Because the way Olivia changed that with that quote, which I don't know who she referenced it from, but the way she changed that was if you then look at your health, you're saying I don't have time to make my health, to do something about my health, which means your health is not a priority.
Yeah. I brought that out with one of my flatmates. Did not go down well.
That's good. That's good. Hopefully it made them think.
But that's like, it's like when you, like, your parents will tell you to do something like 100 times and then someone else will be like, do this. And then you're like, okay. It's just like that resistance from people that you know sometimes.
Sometimes it's about timing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about affordability.
I'm not very tactful at times. Especially when I come home and I'm just like tired of like,
Story of my life.
prioritize it.
Tactful. What's that?
what are this?
Liam's not tact.
That's too funny.
I'm more tech than you think. Thank goodness.
So Phil made a really good point this morning, I think, is that he brought up the idea that if you have any difficult question or kind of unknown proposition, like I wonder how this works, or why does this work, or how do we work on this or fix this, he said look to nature for the answers.
Definitely.
And he used the example of geese, which I thought was quite cool. So like how they fly in a V formation, and then how they communicate and work together. So you have one person at the lead, and then if you create, like whatever it is, I I think the video, I forget it, was they flapped, and then if they were all together in a V, it was an updraft. So there was 71% further distance if they fly
by
in a
the
V.
V formation.
Really?
It was by an individual goose.
How epic is that?
So that's really cool. So
And
he was
then-
like,
I love stuff like that.
yeah.
And the other gooses will honk to the front goose
As
to make
encouragement.
encourage him to keep going.
It's
Because
like
it's
a
way more
cycling
tiring
team.
being the front one. Yeah.
It's exactly
That
like
is
the
so
cycling thing.
cool. And they see, I don't know about geese, but I think is it ducks or something, they see like magnetic frequencies or something. They see the
I
polarity
think so.
of the...
Yeah, like they have like a little bit in their brain that's iron or something, so they
Yeah.
have some kind of magnetic sense of north or
And
something.
built compass.
That is
Yeah.
so
Most
cool.
migrating animals have that.
That's so fascinating.
Which is awesome. But I think he made the analogy towards chiropractic and what they're trying to create here in New Zealand is that it is a team
Effort to
effort.
change that perspective. And
Yeah. And I mean, I certainly resonated with that because that's part of why I'm doing this and trying to make this happen. Is because
Absolutely.
this is a team and we're trying to fly together to get
Which is
further
super
and be
cool.
more efficient.
It's super cool, but and I'm a little bit jealous of it just because it's like I really wish I could fast forward a year so that practice was stable. We hadn't been open for 9 weeks, and I was able to do this fun stuff that was like more for the profession rather than just like securing my back. Like I know being a good chiropractor is beneficial for the profession, but it's kind of the basic expectation. So
The thing is though, you've got to look after yourself.
definitely.
And
If your own foundation isn't stable, you can't help anywhere near the amount of people that you would be able to if it were stable.
yeah. I mean, I think back to like just early practice, and like we said on the last podcast, I was quite anxious and just like not really having confidence and not really hitting wins regularly, and then I was in no state to help myself, let alone other people. But starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, and like things are starting to build.
Life's a journey.
I feel that too, but honestly,
Yeah,
I was not ready to start this. I think there comes a point where you just have to. There is no right
not
time.
ready to start what?
This podcast.
Oh yeah, but then like
I was not in a stable state in my practice. I was not happy no, that's a lie. I was happy, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't achieving what I wanted to do. I wasn't where I wanted to be yet. Even though I was putting the hard work in, it did eventuate, and obviously now I'm kind of definitely more on track and a lot happier. But it's partly because I'm doing kind of things like this, and because I'm actually connecting with you guys again, and making that more regular part of my life. And I think that geese analogy worked really, really well, because it really kind of put it into perspective and meant, yeah, this is a group effort. And I felt like I was flying by myself for a really long time.
Well, and how nice was
and
it to
really
have
hard.
a joint conversation between the four of us, so you, Ash, me, and Dr. Schubel, to all be on a united front of just trying to get more information out there to people, and pure chiropractic. Like, how cool was that?
It was really cool.
That was, unintentional conversation. That was just amazing. But yeah, it was cool.
But there's awesome things that can happen, right? But I definitely think that's what we need more of.
For sure, definitely.
So what was the coolest thing at Lyceum today?
We had so that girl that we were talking about before, Berit,
Yeah,
Berit. Nordstrand.
Yeah, Nordstrand.
Yeah, she's a addiction specialist, medical doctor. Basically stood up and said that depression isn't going to be cured by SSRIs. That don't work. Hands down, the first MD that I've ever heard say that.
Yeah, no
And
surprise
she's-
there.
No, not surprised, but she's admitted it.
Yeah.
And she's basically like, well, you've got to get more omega-3s in because it
Yeah,
lowers
it
your
all comes
depressive
from your
state.
food.
It's all from raw food, like not raw food, but like it's from the building blocks of food that you're putting in. And she's literally like, look, if you're going to eat carrots, you're not going to absorb the
Carotene.
carotene from the colour, the orange colour that helps as an antioxidant. If you don't put some form of fat on it, so put butter on it, so that you've got some form of fat so that you can absorb it properly. And the same with the lycopenes in tomato.
Yeah.
She was like, if you take raw tomato, you can pour some olive oil on it, and you'll increase your uptake of the lycopenes, which is the good antioxidants in the red, from my understanding. Then you'll increase its efficiency of uptake by 500%.
So the interesting thing with that is like in the wild, let's just go back 100,000 years or something. Like our demographic or wherever our gene pools would have sat would have had nature providing that probably in the quantities that were needed to like sustain all the fats and whatever.
Roughly,
from
yes.
Yeah.
roughly, yeah. And then you know, now that we're getting tomatoes and bananas and, you know, like pumpkins, I don't know where they all natively come from, but they're just from all over the world. I think we probably miss that, and we just go for more flavour than actually like.
Mind you,
linking-
probably like if you're thinking about it walking through the bush and you like blueberries are in season or bananas are in season, and you find yourself a banana tree, you're probably going to gorge yourself until you're sick on bananas.
Well, fruit would have been probably quite a rare thing, I'd imagine.
Reasonably, I'd say so. I think foliage is, like, in terms of commonness, I would say it probably went foliage, fruit, meat.
And it wouldn't have been this like luscious, delicious like banana thing. It would have just been this tiny little red banana that's.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have had seeds
That's
like
really
it
sour.
used to before we bred them. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how I feel about that, because I think that we ourselves, we think we're way smarter than people who came before us, and it's not necessarily true. So I think that whole caveman analogy, they didn't know that much and they just kind of had to pick from the ground. I think they knew a lot of
that's
stuff.
what I mean.
Depends
though,
on
like
situation. Like if you're small, like depends on the luck of the draw, really, which is where you're born. So like if I'm sort of imagining like a long way back where you're a very small village, like maybe 2-3 families.
Sure. But that still exists now in
True.
certain parts of the world.
True. And they probably have a goat.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to that wheat seminar, What's with Wheat,
Yep.
at uni 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and
Nice, man.
it was really interesting. Like she was talking about wheat, and basically the way that we have wheat now is it's so processed.
Wheat.
It's so
Not
processed. It's so covered with pesticides, insecticides, whatever, and it's crossbred to like two species that would never meet, basically. And so it's so foreign to like anything our body's ever been used to, and then they process the crap out of it, and it's just like powder, which is a chemical that we can use to make bread. So we take this white powder and then mix it with water, and it's bread within 2 hours. Whereas apparently when we first started playing around with grains and stuff, it was grains that were ground in a certain way and then fermented, and it's that fermentation that breaks down the grain and the protein so that we can actually process it. And
Well, I think that was a really good point. And what this person was actually talking about is in times of struggle, and also not, we actually depended more on our nutrient uptake from the bacteria in our gut than the actual food that we were eating. So her kind of point of view was what you're actually doing is you're feeding the gut bacteria, which is then, digesting stuff, using it.
Yeah.
It's so
And
interesting.
then that's creating the actual stuff that you're absorbing, and that's what you're digesting.
Exactly.
You're saying a lot of people don't have that bacteria.
And her big point was everybody looks at the calories on the plate, but not the bioavailability of the food.
Yeah.
So the bioavailability is determined by how healthy your bacteria are, what bacteria you have, and the
combination of foods on the plate.
And so therefore that dictates how much of this good energy that you can get from the bacteria that you're feeding.
Yeah,
So she
pretty
made a really
much
good
said
point.
that we do everything backwards. We should be going to where we get our food from, whether it's the grocery store or the veggie shop or whatever, and buying a rainbow of foods all in different colours, and then bringing it home and then putting them all together so you've got a mixture of everything and making recipes from that, rather than picking a recipe and buying your food for that.
Not buy food from the recipe book.
Actually, I just thought, I wonder if, because you've got different types of microorganisms in your gut, and depending on the types of foods you eat, like fats or proteins, proliferate more, as opposed to a carbohydrate diet or whatever, so you get these different imbalances. Now I wonder, if you have a high sugar diet, you feed certain types of bacteria, and then that probably rewrites your behavioural change, so then you start to crave those foods as well.
Absolutely.
So
Definitely. And what she was also saying too is with a depressive state, you need zinc in your brain, but that gets too caught up in your pancreas because it's trying to produce tsunami waves of insulin to absorb the the high GI, basic high sugar carbohydrates that you're consuming, like white bread, all the time. So none of it even makes it to your brain.
She made a really good point about she made a really good point about the white bread. Is the white bread that we like is the nice kind of like ciabatta white, fluffy,
soft,
big
bread,
which are really long chain proteins, which are hard for our gut to actually break down, compared to say like a dark rye bread, for example, which is higher in which B vitamin? I think it was B9. I think it was B9 that it was higher in. And that's actually better for you, but it's not as tasty.
And she was also saying that you can actually manufacture your own folate.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Check it out. And she's
like
got some good books that have come out.
/ like addiction specialist. And she discovered this because her first son was really sick, became an epileptic and things like that, and he wouldn't get healthy because of a virus that he had for months.
In his brain.
Like he had meningitis and became became an epileptic as a result. And then her auntie, who was 75, rings up and was like, in the old days, egg yolk used to work, cream used to work to make you fit and strong and fight bacteria. So you should try food, not just pills, you crazy doctor, and hung up. And she's like, I'm not going to listen to some old 75-year-old lady. So she went down and looked for all the randomized controlled trials she could find and actually was surprised. So, yeah, and then it started from there, and she's like, more people need to know about this. This is crazy. There's diets for ADD, there's diets for like autism, there's diets for dementia that you can help feed your brain so that you're not ending up with glycation or Alzheimer's.
Yeah, but the cool point about it is all of the diets that she was talking about were effectively the same.
Yeah.
Yes. It was just like minor tweaks
like
for certain
small,
things.
like higher vitamins, certain things.
And the thing that
bigger
resonates with everyone is she was like, you can have dessert every day. Just change what you're having. Make chocolate mousse out of avocado, banana, honey, and cocoa. And you can eat it every day because it's good for you.
And she was like, even if you just make small changes and substitute, like if you're baking, substitute sugar for honey. You need half the amount of honey as you do use sugar. And your honey is great as a probiotic. It's, it doesn't give you the same insulin spikes and everything in it.
I've got Joe Rogan on vegans in my head. The whole reason we're here is because number we're fucking smarter than you figured out you can take honey off bees without them knowing.
I heard that actually. That's so funny.
So good.
I love his rant. Actually, I was on Joe Rogan as well. He had a guy who's a mind coach and fighting coach, and basically he was saying that he got told about arthritis, and he was saying that being a kickboxer, he had like terrible arthritis in his ankles. Went to MD, they basically just said, you have to live with this the rest of your life, take Panadol every day. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And then he found out about turmeric tea, and he said after 2 days of drinking that, it went away completely, and he drinks it every day, and he's never had any problems since. And I was like,
major anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, I was like, this is interesting. So I started doing it myself, and I've told all my patients about it. I said, look, I don't know much about it other than that this guy said it works. I did a bit of reading about it, and it seems to be pretty potent. I was like, make sure you put the black pepper in because that apparently amplifies the effect of turmeric by 300% or 300 times or something. And it's pretty interesting. Like the reports I'm getting back are all good, and people just like just those like little aches and pains and niggles and that. And like I've been drinking it after going to the gym, and it's amazing how much of an effect it actually has.
And saying that you can't move your arms right now.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
It's not even a bicep, it's just a solid trigger point.
That's awesome.
It's just lactic acid, I think.
So what do you guys do to get your probiotics or your B6, 9 and 12?
I make kombucha, and I just tried making sauerkraut, but it tastes like poison, so I don't know if I get it right.
Probably not.
If it tastes like poison,
really
then
nice.
Yeah, I was like, don't know about this. So that's kind of a work in process. But I also take a B12 supplement, being vegetarian, which I sussed from my naturopath.
Interesting.
Will you eat eggs as a vegetarian?
Yeah, so if you wanted to like give it a term, it would be ovo-vegan.
Okay.
Because apparently eggs is the highest
natural B12.
Yeah, I eat a lot of eggs. I eat like in one sitting, I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like lentils and brown rice and 2 eggs. And then I'll eat like 4 hard-boiled eggs with like Admittedly, my diet's not very colourful at the moment, I guess, because I've just been pretty busy with things. But
So like, you chowing down on like tub of alfalfa, or like
well, I usually like when I've got time, I love to cook, and I usually make like a lot of hummus. I make my own falafel, almond milk. I make a wicked dessert almond milk.
Oh, that's the other thing that she was saying too, is if you're gonna have milk, try and have low level pasteurised. And she was like, in New Zealand, I hear you can buy non-pasteurised milk straight from the farm, and we're like, yeah, there are a couple of places you can do this. And she's like, this is not legal anywhere else in the world, and it's so awesome. Keep doing it.
So buy milk that's slightly sour.
Yeah, and she's like, and make sure it's slightly sour because it's got the good bacteria for your gut in it.
So Ash Pritchard today came up with a really cool idea. Well, not a cool idea, but he combined two words which I thought was really, really cool. And again, kind of on that theme of kind of creating a community, talking about how we can work together and get better. And he called it cooperation and competition, and came up with co-opetition. So I think that's
we're petitioning for it to become an actual word.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. So I thought that was a really, really cool concept to actually have some competition and talk about chiropractic
healthy
together
competitiveness.
And be like, well, this is what I'm doing, that's what you're doing. I mean, obviously the Australian school's starting up soon, so that's going to create a really nice vibe against the New Zealand college to have.
That sounds pretty promising as well.
It is. They valued the curriculum at $5 million and then gave it to them for free. And we're just like, only condition is you like have to do it in a pure way, and you're not allowed to give it to anyone else.
Yeah.
So is it's modelled off NZCC?
It is NZCC's curriculum
in Australia.
Because like
it's not accredited or approved yet, but they're trying to do it.
It's not
because the president
it's gonna happen,
he spoke about it at the Gonson seminar in Melbourne. Sounds really good.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Steve Ross is behind it too, which is interesting because we had a lecture from him recently, and he's like 100% behind that.
Cool.
So, yeah, and it's cool. It is cool.
Whereabouts is it again?
Adelaide.
Oh, nice. Good place for it.
Yeah, and so their like symbol is a jacaranda tree, which makes sense because of Adelaide. Purple trees everywhere.
Oh, I haven't actually been to Adelaide. It seems like a pretty cool place.
Just ask Stocko about it. He loves it.
It's true. But then the other cool concept, this was actually raised by Jason Deutsch, was we often talk about our PVA, like what's our patient visit average? How many people did we see, or how many people did we serve? And I think he raised a really good point, is that instead of talking about what did we receive from that, he raised the point of, well, how much do we share? So instead of it being how many people do we see, how much do we actually serve and share and give out? Which was really funny because this morning we were walking around the viaduct, the basin. I was talking to Ben about this, about how I had an interesting conversation with a guy who's not a chiropractor at all, but it's quite philosophical with like martial arts. And he was like, well, you shouldn't really worry about money with your practice. You should set it up to see how much you can give to the world, not how much you can take from it. And I was like, well, that's kind of what we do anyway, because we're in a position where we don't have to worry about money as much, so that we can not see our patients as dollar figures and actually see them as people and take the best care of them.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's freaking awesome. And then it come up today with what's his last name? Just now that you were talking about
Jason, yeah.
No,
just Dutch. He's the Amplified guy.
Amplified, yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought I had that name before.
Yes, and he was like, well, if you just give out, eventually people pick up on the vibes, and it happens, like, and it'll become a norm. So tomorrow is quite cool that you're coming, because he's talking about how to be first on someone's news feed with Facebook, because he just happened to work out with the CEO of Facebook. Well, no, his wife became the CEO of marketing for Facebook, and he just happens to work out with
Instagram,
Zuckerberg,
the dude who
and CEO of Instagram.
Well, that's because
he lives in Silicon Valley.
Step one, no Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Step one, no Silicon Valley.
Step two, take over the world.
Step two, question mark. Step three, profit.
Yeah.
Done.
But that's the interesting thing, is the whole vibe tonight, today was not even really about profit.
That's awesome.
The school was looking for some serious sponsorship to get rid of the admin area. They're taking the winery out of downstairs, and they're making that the admin, and they're going to make the whole first floor a clinic.
So does the school sublet it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But they only subletted it because we were such a small year, and so was the year behind us. So now that they're at full roll again, after the end of this year,
They have to
following all
do
of
something.
those, they've got too many students to like see in that smaller clinic. So they're changing the clinic hours from, at this stage, what we believe to be 1 till 7 every day, Monday to Friday.
No mornings.
No mornings. And then you just... Well, yeah, it gives them
just
scope to manage what they want, and then they've got
Yeah.
a fourth year side and a third year side.
Yeah,
But
that's
that's in third year, you get to be open till 7 as well. Where remember in third year we were only allowed till like 5.
During the
I'm
day,
just
that was
dark because I
hard.
had to get up at like 5 a.m.
Hey man, hey man, I
Twice
was
a
there
week.
with you.
We all had to do it at
Yeah.
some point.
I'm still doing that
Take
now.
yellow.
Yeah, I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning and going to the gym because I haven't got the other time.
That's one thing I need to work on next is getting up earlier. I live too close to work. I get up.
Just
so
just get a cat. It'll wake you up at 4 in the morning every day.
I wanna
Actually,
get
do you want mine?
I'll get chickens.
Get a rooster. Yeah.
Yeah, at least you profit from them and get the eggs. Not roosters, but yeah. And so yeah, they were looking for some sponsorship for that, which was really cool. And Simon Kelly
Okay.
gave 60 grand for
Have a lecture theatre
Whoa.
no, a new-
or
a new
technique
technique
room
room
named after him.
So you're gonna have
Legend.
Kelly room.
No, it's Mount Eden Cairo, I think.
Managing
Yeah, it'll be
Cairo.
Mountain Cara
Yeah.
who done it. But I think it's going towards the chiropractic centre.
Yes, which is what's so cool about it is that all these people were prepared to give, and they were all there about. Like it was quite a neat mix of chiros that showed up this time. They were all not about the lifestyle rather than how much money they could make out of it.
Well, I think the point is, it's whatever value it is, that's what you're happy to pay if you have the same
Yes,
amount of value.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing with chiropractic here. For some people, $50 is way too much for it. Because, I mean, personally, what I think is you haven't communicated the value effectively, so they've looked at it the same as a pill. Well, your adjustment is the same effect as this Panadol because my goal is to get rid of pain.
So
Well, yeah, of course it's going to be the same. Because if your idea is not to arouse innate, then you're missing out. And they don't know that. They think, oh, it's just how I feel, right? Which is, chiropractic is not about that.
No, it's
at
not.
all.
It's not. And what was quite interesting, because you know how I told you about that patient of mine who had to drop out of care because he had to save up for it?
Yep.
Yeah, so it was quite interesting because he's like, I've literally started doing everything I can to get more money. So he's like building engines for people so that they can
Nice.
sell them for profit to come in for chiropractic care, which is awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll get people like that. They're just
He gets
Get
he
it
seen me
out.
four times, and he got some awesome results with that. And I was like, look, to really get the good results, we're going to need to see you regularly because currently you're spending way more time unadjusted than you are in an adjusted state. And so we need to increase that so we can get some decent changes. And he's
Let's talk about regular. This is a really cool topic. What's regular for you?
regular is minimum.
Initial intensive
minimum
phase.
twice a week, absolute minimum.
For how long?
For that guy,
No,
depends
just
because
in
he's been there
general.
a long time.
Just in general. What would you describe regular as?
Month, at least a
Yeah.
month. Yeah.
So regular would then be 2 visits a week for 4 weeks.
2 to 3 visits a week for 4 weeks. Yeah.
So 8 visits.
8 to 12 visits. Yes.
I usually say if you're perfectly healthy, there's nothing going wrong. Like you just purely want to get checked, minimum 6 checks a year. And then the way I work it is if they come in with a problem or a new case, my worst case scenario is 3 times a week for 2 weeks, 1 time a week for 3 weeks, and then once a fortnight for 8 weeks. That's just a general
Yeah, just talking
rule.
general. What
But
does
I mean
regular
that
mean for you?
changes a lot. Like I
Yeah.
haven't had any patients really that's been a square cut rule. But I think it's important to kind of clarify if they're completely healthy and their body's adapting in the way that's acceptable, that kind of thing, and then they should be getting checked at least every 2 months, at least, bare minimum, probably more than that.
Which is
ideally,
interesting because
but
okay, so you've recently started a new diet. To be healthier.
Yeah.
You work out quite regularly at the moment, and you're in a steady job.
Mhm.
How often do you want to get checked? Because
That's a
you're
good
healthy.
question.
Because you're healthy. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's definitely some damage in my body from a previous lifestyle of playing sport excessively and that kind of stuff. I reckon, I honestly think I could go a month without getting adjusted, but I choose to get checked. That's the thing, I get checked once a month, but then I'll increase the frequency like I have recently because I've started going to the gym more. So that's what I'm saying, it's and it's not so much that I think they're like don't get too hung up on them being perfectly healthy. That's just the way that I frame it, so that they think, okay, I need to get checked at least this many times a year.
No, that's fine. But what I'm saying is like, if we use you as perfectly healthy, even though you've got a little bit of some stuff going on from previous things.
Yeah.
None of my patients are perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yep. I'd agree with that.
Ash,
how often do you get checked then? How often do you get checked?
I want to know how Ash. What's
Um,
regular for you?
yeah, again, it depends on a lot of things. I think standard in my mind starting would be 2 to 3 times a week for 3 weeks, and then
Case by case.
I would recheck then and see if they need to continue or whether I drop down from there. Usually, if they're not super old and super like heaps of funky stuff going on, it's usually then I tailor it down to once a week for a month, and I go a fortnight for a month, and then tailor it down from there so that their body gets a chance to become, so they're not 100% reliant on chiropractic care, because I think your body can also stop, like you're changing the neurology, but it also knows that that's going to happen, so maybe it doesn't have to work as hard. Like I've found that a little bit with my body, where if every time I'm like, and then my body doesn't get a chance to adapt to it because it doesn't have to, because I'm like, I just want to get adjusted now.
Which is quite cool about like just observing your care. It's quite cool how when you reduce someone, it's not like, okay, you're at this stage now, we're going to drop you back to this and you're just going to have to put up with that. You literally check how long they're going to hold that adjustment
Yeah,
for,
absolutely.
which is quite cool. And like your last week of intense, so you might get to 3 weeks and be like, okay, we're going to look to reduce your care, but you'll keep another 3 visits to see how long they hold that back. Like, and you've already got it from your notes, but you're going to recheck to what the longest is that they can hold that adjustment for, and then you'll see them again.
I have an issue with the phrase "hold that adjustment." I don't like it because I think it kind of sticks you in a structural perspective again, and again it comes back to that vertebral subluxation model. Is why do we need the vertebral part in there? Because then you're talking about something structural, and that's not necessarily what it is that we do, and that's not really what the research is pointing towards. But I'll answer the regular thing for me. So regular initial is twice a week is a compromise to me.
Yep.
3 times a week is more likely bare minimum, and increase like more than that is, I reckon, necessary for a lot of patients if we're talking about initial intensive phase, because their neurology is messed up. So the person that I think of when I think about that is one of my patients who's older woman, 82, female, really, really like gross spine, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. Look at the x-rays, it's pretty horrific, the amount of degeneration that's going on there.
Swap.
So what I've been doing with her is checking her twice a day, 3 times a week, and anything less than that, she doesn't function as well. So for me, that's, I think if I think about her, that's
is that a
definitely
rare case though? Like, is that your most
I think
intense?
that's the most intensive patient I have. So,
yeah.
But that's when I think intensity, that's what I think about. And
okay, so
then
what would be regular?
So regular is once a week. Because if I think about myself, I like to get checked once a week. If I'm leaving it longer than that, I don't feel as good and I don't perform as good. Because for me, it's not about how does my body perform. But that's kind of interesting
because you're in a maintenance phase now, because that's why it's interesting for me, because right now you're at a happy state, you're in a homeostasis state where you're self-regulating and self-maintaining, so you're not progressing or going backwards, but you're happy to maintain at a week. Yes, you are making some progress.
I disagree about maintenance. It's not maintenance. I'm not getting checked once a week to maintain where I am now. I'm getting checked once a week because I want to make sure that my neurology, my innate, is performing at its absolute best at all times. Because I want to be at my maximum creative amount.
And once a week's enough for you for that?
Yeah, well, timetable-wise, it works for me to get checked once a week. I think probably I would like to get checked a couple of times a week.
Because I get checked twice a week.
Yeah.
So does Ash.
Yeah, get checked a couple of times a week, and
not necessarily adjusted.
I would hope to get more clear checks to be like, I'm doing better.
I just want to clarify as well, we're not saying about the healthy patient, like you say, like it's not...
It's an optimal thing.
It's not like you're out of health, I'm going to adjust you, like kind of thing. It's just that's the kind of way that I kind of frame it to people. I'm like, in an ideal world without
That
stresses
you need
and
a
stuff.
minimum. I understand.
Yeah, you'll get like a minimum, and then like, but you're right. Like I've been getting checked maybe twice a week since I've started training a bit more intensely, and that's good for me.
So
but usually, drop a bit.
I'm a bit the same because I'm messing myself up at the moment as well. But I just enjoy getting checked as well. It's fun to play and practice and things. But what I'm confused about with you is you've shown us you're like most intensive patient, and then you're considering regular once a week. I consider my regular patients are once a week, and that's fine because they're out of their intensive phase. But if an average patient comes to you with a couple of issues, what are you going to do with them? Like, what's your frequency?
The average patient coming in?
Yeah, because you've told us you're most intensive, which is like twice a day, 3 times a week, which is intense. But like, and I can understand how that would be appropriate for some patients. But how, like, because like I've given you my sort of like what I would consider an average person.
Yeah.
And then you've kind of blown it out of the water with like what your most intense person is.
Yeah.
So what's your average person? Who's like your
What's your general
patient?
Yeah. So general patient. Well, I mean, I like to think about it in terms of like what's too much and what is too little. So average person comes in, say, female, 40, done sport on and off socially most of their life, couple of kids, nothing major going on, but just feels like sleep's not that great, stressed out at work, a little bit low energy, and just wants more from life. I would say that's probably my average patient.
Cool.
Who I have the most from.
Awesome.
And then if you talk about them starting their initial phase of care, what I think about is, right, well, where is she now and where does she want to be? Right, that's pretty understandable.
How fast does she want to get there to?
Not terrible. Most people are probably similar to her, but she wants to be much better. Fantastic. So, once a week, is that enough for her? No. Every day, is that too much?
Yes.
Potentially.
You wouldn't do her any harm because you're just checking.
Well, this is the thing I want to talk about next because David Fletcher brought this up and I thought this was brilliant. But I think every day for her if she's doing pretty good. That's probably a bit intense, especially if cost of finance is a part of it as well.
Can I just say that as well? This varies wildly depending on the way that you practice as well.
Yes, definitely.
Because
Well, I mean, but Liam was asking me in particular with my average patient.
Well,
this would be
because
my
I gave you
thought.
my average patient, not what I would be prepared to do with somebody who is super intense and acute, right? So I'm just trying to get it on a level playing field. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the whole point of this is to pick each other's brains to see what we think.
That's why I'm curious.
Because for me, the really fun thing is I say regular, and each of us have a very different understanding of what regular means.
Definitely.
And then we also have to quantify it with what is our quote-unquote average or regular patient. I think that's a really, really cool thing is that, all of us graduate from the same school, graduate at the same time, have a relatively similar set of skills, but we still think about things really differently.
But have you noticed that even within that, it's kind of, if you lay down the background story, you actually come up with a similar result.
Very similar, yeah.
So, which is why I wanted your
everyone
background
should
story.
get regularly checked, right?
Yeah, it is, and that's why I wanted your background story to what an initial intensive period of care looks like for an average patient.
Yeah, so I would say.
So we've established that once a week's not
80%,
enough. Every day is too much.
So every day is a bit too much. So then I can go for a mid-ground, which is about 3 times a week. Right?
Cool.
So then I would say 80% of my care plan recommendations that I would make during like a report would be I'm seeing you 3 times a week for the next 8 weeks, and then once a week for the following 6 to 9 months.
Subject to change?
Yeah, everything. So the way that I operate is measure everything, so including muscle test, orthopedic testing, neurological testing, subluxation findings, X-ray and thermography, putting all of that together to see a significant change. So someone, for me, I'm not going to drop a patient down in care until I see all of those tests at a normal level.
Okay.
From that, then it becomes corrective / maintenance from there, because now you're actually performing at a normal level where all your muscles are at 5, your balance has improved to pretty close to normal, your posture has showed a significant change, your thermography scans are improving, X-rays hopefully will show some structural change if that's relevant to the case. So I have a guy coming in to the end of a 3x12. So he's in his... So I've been seeing him 3 times a week for the last 10 weeks, and he's got a couple of weeks left. But in saying that, this is a guy who had a quad bike fall on top of him and has been out of work for like 2 years and still in the afternoons can't focus or think. So again, probably maybe
exactly, it's all relative.
So it's relative to the patient, but in saying that, I'm expecting to see some change in his X-ray. So I'm going to take an X-ray at the end of that time to be like, here's a significant injury, massive changes in cervical, messed up degeneration, crazy postural changes. I want to re-X-ray it because he's made such amazing progress.
Yeah,
I want to see if there's
I
a difference.
totally agree with you.
So it is all dependent on patient progress.
Yes. And I think all of us are united on that front.
Because if suddenly they were way better, way sooner, brilliant.
Yep.
Dropping the key.
Yeah, like if I'm getting 2 clear checks a week and I'm only just...
Yeah, exactly.
Fine, that's fairly obvious where you need to be.
Yeah.
I just want to pick your brain on one more thing because you said you drop them back to corrective care or maintenance care.
Yep.
And you said that once a week for you is not maintenance care.
Yeah. It's definition. Just definition. So for me, maintenance care is I want to stabilise and maintain where I am right now.
Yeah.
Corrective care or improving my well-being. For me, actual chiropractic care is when you get checked regularly enough that you're constantly growing, constantly improving the expression of your innate. That's what chiropractic care should be, I believe.
Yeah. And how often do you believe that is?
I think it depends on the person, but for me, it's once a week.
Cool. Okay. For me, it's twice. I just need that, but I've got way more history than you do.
You have more history, but then in saying that, I think I would like to get checked twice a week, but based on my current schedule, it's possible. It's just not enough priority.
Okay, we spoke about this earlier. Yeah, cool.
So I think it's once a week definitely serves all the purposes, does everything I need. And actually, in saying that, when I have extra stuff, like if I'm doing, going for a run more frequently, or working out, or I'm extra stressed, or I'm sick.
Or your chiropractor's been on holiday for 3 weeks, so you haven't seen them.
Or other stuff. I will get checked more regularly. Yeah. So recently, about 4 weeks ago now, I got like a crazy virus out of nowhere, which is really odd for me. Like I haven't been, quote unquote sick or expressing health, fighting off stuff, getting my immune system really firing in years. Like before starting chiro school.
Oh, there was one time that you got quite sick just before exam.
Okay.
But you got some cool stuff.
I remember that. But yeah, no, this was like proper, like I'm getting kind of like fevery hallucinations and like I need to take time off, like I can't function sick.
Okay.
I don't remember being that for a long time. And when that happened, I got checked every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it depends on what
and it's about knowing what's right for you and what you're comfortable with. I think it's cool.
Just out of curiosity, say, just like an average case, how many adjustments would you do per visit if you're seeing them 3 times a week for, let's just say, like 6 weeks?
Three on average. So say lumbar, pelvic and cervical. I'd say 3 on average.
I'd say 3 on average, but more likely 2 to 4.
So 3 on average?
Yeah.
Pretty much, exactly.
I very rarely go over 4.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And 2 and 3 is probably more common.
I'd say 3 is very common for me. Very, very common that I'll do a thoracic adjustment, a lumbar pelvic adjustment, and a cervical adjustment. And then because you'll do just one, right?
I do whatever's there, but if I start seeing more than 3 in the spine, then I just look a bit closer at my analysis. Like, I basically stick to things that have enough indicators beyond doubt for me. So sometimes that's 1, sometimes that's 2, sometimes it's 3, but any more than 3
you're
I
talking
start.
adjustments, they're not indicators.
Sorry, adjustments, yeah. Okay. So any more than 3, I kind of just go, alright, like which one's more likely to be a compensation, and adjust. I always adjust the most acute subluxations per visit. And that seems to work for me. I don't know. That's coming from, you have to remember, I spent like most of my uni career doing up cervical.
Yeah.
So I went from that like bit more conservative approach, I guess.
I want to pick your brain on something though, because you said the most acute subluxation. What defines the most acute subluxation for you?
So this is where and Gon said it's like basically you check the spine, right, and you can have chronic subluxations, or let's just say acute subluxations, or just ones that have occurred after. So if you've got a degenerated segment, essentially that's been there for a long time, and that causes changes
So that would be chronic.
That's chronic, and then the changes that creates, eventually one of those will subluxate or could subluxate, and that would be the most acute one. Mm-hmm. So what happens with the technique is you find the areas of edema, nervous scope, all that kind of stuff. You address those subluxations, and then when they're clear or not showing up again and again, then you can start to look at more chronic ones. So that's my understanding. I might not necessarily be right.
Like that analogy of peeling back the layers of the onion.
Essentially, yeah.
How many times how many times do you expect to adjust a segment before it clears, and you're moving to the next less acute?
Gonzalo had a pretty cool saying, and it seems to be pretty true. It's like a subluxation takes one adjustment. It just might take him a few attempts. So, and that kind of holds true. Like with my skill level, I'm really early in my career, obviously, and like
we all know.
Sometimes you just nail it, and it literally won't show up again, or it doesn't show up for ages. Most of the time, 2 or 3 adjustments, and then it will sort of stay away for a while. But it's highly dependent on that patient as well. If they go if you adjust something and then they just go back to like a crappy lifestyle, then it will return.
What I hate with that is when you adjust someone because they've been doing something stupid, like I don't know, like digging a hole or shoveling gravel, and they're like, oh, I've thrown my low back out, like can you take a look at it? And I'm like, well, it's subluxated, it's not out, but anyway.
Yes.
But yes, I can probably help you with that. And then you adjust them, and they're like, oh, I felt so much better. I was able to shovel 2 truckloads of gravel instead of 1. And I'm like, oh, man.
Actually, I heard a really interesting thing from Gary Dennis, actually, just at our regional meeting. And he was talking about when you got a patient who comes in, no matter what, like the typical thing where someone's reaching over to grab something and their back just goes bang. And it's like, that's not actually it was everything leading up to that moment which caused that final stress, or that the body couldn't cope with.
And the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and gosh, I probably say that so many times per day. But basically, like he was saying, it's really important to disrupt the pattern. So give people permission to have time off and be sick or injured. Like just be like, go break the pattern.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest problem with society at the moment, is that you only take a sick day when you're at your worst of your sickness.
Yeah,
you don't actually take a sick day the first day you have symptoms, so that you can have your best effort at recovering from it. And so people aren't using a sick day for getting back to being healthy. They're using a sick day because it's their less productive day in their cycle of getting back to sick.
It's like people with chronic fatigue and they go to the gym like 6 times a week, and it's like, might not be the best thing.
How often have you heard, I only get sick when I stop? And it's like, well, no, you've actually been sick probably for at least a week leading up to that, but you don't have the energy for your immune system to actually function and create an immune response. So that bacteria or virus or whatever it is has had a week of nothing really interfering with it.
It's not, and it's only that you express symptoms when you stop.
Because your body now has this energy to
Let's talk about germ theory. Who believes in the germ theory?
I think germs exist, but I think your ability to...
I googled this. Like, how can people not believe in the germ theory?
Well...
I think the germ theory is wrong.
Yes, I
What
agree.
is the germ theory first? Because
Germ theory is... Let us Google that.
My understanding is that germ theory means that if you're exposed to something, you're going to get sick. Which
I disagree.
it's kind of true but not true. Like,
exactly. There's varying degrees of the same disease, and there's also like, okay, so if you're exposed to AIDS, if you're exposed to something like as sinister as AIDS or the HIV virus, then you're probably going to get sick.
Because it's a very virulent.
Highly virulent, yeah. If you're talking about something like the common flu or cold, then that depends on the state of your immune system.
But now we're just trying to split here. But let's tease this out because this is a cool idea.
Yeah.
I also think it's also definitely has to do with vitalism and chiropractic philosophy and how we actually understand how the human body works. Because the germ theory is so prevalent, it's just become part of our psyche.
How we believe.
Understand. I like your style. So the germ theory, this is from Wikipedia, so you know it's true. The germ theory of disease states that some diseases are caused by microorganisms. These small organisms, too small to see without magnification, invade humans, animals, and other living hosts. Their growth and reproduction within their host can cause a disease.
Okay, 100% believe in germ theory because that's how virus
Yeah, well,
works.
that makes sense.
So actually agreed with this because they're using things like some diseases and can cause.
See, I think
So it's
the problem
definitive.
is that people think if someone sneezes, it's not necessarily germ theory. It's just the way that it's being
fear of germs.
interpreted.
It's fear of
Yes.
germs.
So
Yeah.
people are too clean, and then if someone
Absolutely.
sneezes around them, I mean, depends. If they've got Ebola, I'm like not even going to be in the same country as like.
Well, you
But
don't
here-
know what I mean, so
But
that's
here's
okay,
the problem. Here's the problem. What they used to believe was that it was bad air or demons, right?
Sure.
Yes.
They haven't changed the understanding. All they've done is
Quantify what's in the air.
quantified because now they can see it with a microscope. That's all. The theory is exactly the same. You have X. It's not anything to do with your health or how your body works, but this outside force, this demon, this bad air, this germ has invaded your body, and that is why you're sick.
But I disagree because
And for me, that's the problem.
The germ theory is that it will invade your body. As to whether you express symptoms depicts on how effective your immune system is.
See, that's where I kind of think germ theory doesn't actually explain it properly.
That's right, because
Yes,
I can be
there are
invaded by
microorganisms.
I could be being invaded by the adenovirus right now, which is your common cold and flu, right? Or flu. Now, and I could be responding appropriately long before I have symptoms.
Yep.
Symptoms are
Well, you might not get symptoms because your immune system functions so well.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say. So
it's-
the
yeah.
symptoms.
Exactly.
Yes.
We've all got like what is it? We've all got staph aureus and all that kind
Yep.
of
So
stuff.
we're fighting off
Absolutely.
thousands of infections a day. Like how many pimples does the average teenager have?
Hmm.
Like, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And we today we were in a conference room with how many people,
300
and you know, you're walking to and from that, you know, around people. We went to a cafe surrounded by people. Like,
Then we ate food without washing our hands.
yeah, it's like, you know, and
And I didn't use a knife and fork because it was a burger.
I think that it's really important that if you are looking at the germ theory, the best way is to make sure that your immune system is functioning the best that it can all the time, and you have that energy readily available so that it can use it if it needs it.
The other
Yes.
thing.
Which is where chiropractic comes in, and it's like,
Exactly.
is your
Yes.
body running as effectively and efficiently as it can be, so that you have all this extra energy for your immune system if it needs it.
100% agree.
Back
The
to
other
you.
thing I think needs to happen is
I do
that
not want to get involved.
you need to have constant exposure to what your environment is. Because what happens at the moment is people get so scared of germs, and I think what you were trying to touch on before, James, was if someone coughs, oh no, I'm going to get sick, right? And that's probably positive reinforcement.
It's
So you
like-
probably will.
Yeah.
And then also they end up using so much antibacterial, like there's antibacterial hand soap, hand sanitizer for everything. And the problem I have with that, I've got no problem with people using them because you're just making superbugs that are only going to kill you later anyway. But you're washing them all down the sink.
I was just going to say it
They're
goes
going to the
somewhere.
ocean and killing all the microbes of the ocean. Like you've got no idea as to what the side effects of that are. They're worried about little plastic beads in your facial scrub at
Oh,
the
yeah, I
moment
saw
because the
that.
plankton and fish are eating them and it's killing them. Like, imagine what antibacterials do being washed into the ocean. Just that
Well,
blows my mind.
absolutely, and you just take it like even a step back, and you go, okay, I'm now a new mum with a new baby, and I'm petrified of germs, so I'm constantly cleaning my baby. I make sure that I use antibacterial sprays on all the floors.
Chemical,
Absolutely. It's very.
But also, bacteria are friends. You rely on them in your gut to be a part of your life. It's a symbiotic relationship.
But now I'm not giving my baby a chance to slowly have an immune response. I'm not giving. They're not exposed to anything. Yeah.
Because they haven't got any.
So
actually, it's really interesting. I've been listening or reading a little bit about bacteria in the gut, and with the antibiotics, apparently it just doesn't regenerate. It's
that's what
once it's killed. Oh really?
It's gone. They were talking about it extra seats in the lecture theatre, where they divided them up into different parts of the colon and what bacterial flora are there.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, from antibiotics and things, some seats are empty. You can get good bacteria to visit for a while, but they never actually become host because of the damage. And then what can also happen is if you take some probiotics, if they're not allied with your natural flora, they can end up making you fatter because of the wrong bacteria and things like that, and just providing all of the wrong types of energy for you.
True, but what she was recommending is kombucha and fermented foods, like fermented cabbage, the
fermented cabbage,
probiotics,
yogurt,
it's getting all the good stuff in there.
Kombucha honestly is
good variety
it's
of
tricky to make.
trans fats, saturated and unsaturated fats. Sorry.
It was really tricky to make over winter because it was a little bit too cold. I think. I mean, if you put in a hot water cupboard, it'd be fine. But
who's got one of those?
Because how do you make it?
I got a SCOBY. Yeah, I got a SCOBY from NZCC student, Terry Ann, and she gave it to me as a little. I think it's so cool. It's like a little pet. And it's just this little pancake thing.
And you can keep it in your cupboard and feed it.
Yeah, basically it's I used a pretty basic recipe, so I had it's green tea, so you make about 4 liters of green tea and then you put a cup of sugar in there, and basically it eats the sugar and the products, or metabolizes it, and you get probiotics. Magic. I don't really know
the perfect time to consume it is when it's the bacteria has metabolized all the sugar. Yeah.
So you keep tasting it after about 7 days. You just take a little teaspoon, and I learned the hard way. It's when it's sweet, there's still sugar to be metabolized. It's sweet, 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 not so sweet, not sweet. When you should take it out, and then it's vinegar. And so I had a lot of kombucha vinegar. I've got honestly,
it's like an avocado. It's not ripe, not ripe, not ripe, not ripe.
Eat me out, too late.
Eat me now, too late.
It's so cute though. It's when you see a mother whale and there's the little ones swimming on the side. That's kind of what they look like when you take them out, because they make another one. It's this little baby one underneath. And so you end up, and they grow to the size of the container. So the container I had was quite big like this, and they're just boom. And
you can divide them and use them for different recipes and things like that. I've seen raspberry ones, and I've seen tangerine tea made into kombucha. So you can make different flavors, which is cool.
That's the cool thing, yeah. So what I used to do is I took it out and I had about 4 liters. I put 2 liters in one jar and just started drinking it. 2 liters in another jar, and put a handful of frozen strawberries and berries and stuff into it and seal it. And when you seal it, it starves the oxygen out. Now the anaerobic bacteria, they start eating the berries and they carbonate. So now you can have carbonated berry flavored kombucha, and it's
fizzy
so
green
good.
tea and strawberry kombucha.
Well, I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm actually,
you just need to get a SCOBY.
I need to get another one. I can give you some if you want to try. Because I left them over winter, which apparently you can do, and they've just been reproducing. So I've got honestly, it's a stack of just
You just have to make sure they've got food. So if you give them sugar, they're
sugar.
Sweet.
Really,
it's pretty cool.
Legit.
I don't want to throw them out because I'm kind of attached.
Next time,
this is Fred and this is Jeffrey.
Yeah, this Tauranga is real hip and vegan and weird. Not as bad as Wellington, but there is a cafe in Tauranga that sells kombucha, which is quite cool.
That's cool.
I had some last night. Organic Mechanic had one. It's a ginger. It's on tap as well.
Oh, really?
That's good.
Yeah, I question this as to how potent it is.
It was really delicious. It almost tastes like a beer, to be honest. A gingery kind of.
Because Phil also used to make it all the time and drink.
Yeah, Phil was the one who bought it. It was on tap.
He bought it for you.
No, sorry. He got it from Organic Mechanic, but they sell it on tap.
Oh, okay.
I think it's slightly cheaper than if you just buy it.
Do they bottle it and like let it like?
I'm not sure.
Because I wasn't 100% sure on how you make it fizzy, but anyway.
So do you know what blew my mind today?
What?
So you know Michelangelo's painting that has like
Oh,
God
yeah.
reaching down and like touching man?
Yeah, they figured
the
that out
finger
like 5
touching-
years ago. It was pretty cool.
Okay, well I did not realize this, but do you know that around God it looks like a brain?
Like with the right sulci and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like where all the gyros are and where everything's sitting.
Wait, I need to see this.
So let's pull the shit up, because it actually blew my brain. And then I was like, oh my god, they knew that the brain controlled everything and gave the creativity to man. It's like, what is the creation of the entire universe? And it's like, boom, consciousness.
Intelligence.
What? It's just so cool. Okay, so Michelangelo.
This week on Ben Google's.
Yeah, no, someone noticed it on the roof like 5 years ago. It wasn't long ago.
Yeah. So it's the
Might have been longer.
the God and Adam painting. I should probably Google in. I'll put in the end brain.
Because that'll give you the before and after look with the
That'll give us
superimposed
like the
thing.
sulfur stuff in there. Where's a good image of it?
So, does nature provide everything we need to be healthy?
Does what?
Nature provide everything we need to be
Nature
healthy?
in its natural state, yes. Does nature exist in its natural state anymore after human
That's
intervention?
pretty hard to find.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's just kind of funny. I've been like debating that with people lately.
So here you go. So this they've kind of zoomed in on God and they've like drawn so where you can see the gyri and the sulci.
Oh wow.
And you're like, holy crap,
Quite
my
cool,
God,
eh?
it's a brain. They knew. See, the older people were smart. Same.
Whoa.
I'm not saying they weren't. It just depends how far you want to go back. If you want to go back to Neanderthal, maybe. But
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay, that's actually like.
it's actually like,
Legitimate.
accurate. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, it's all of creation.
It's pretty. Man, that's. I thought you meant like it just had like a little cloud above his head, but that's like.
No, like
No,
the
no,
whole
like
thing,
the
like
whole
God
background
is
is
sitting
the-
inside a brain and reaching down and touching man.
And so what the.
So-
they
You should see
Wow.
Ben's face right now, just saying.
Just like, if you do not believe now. This is like.
He's not saying believe in Jesus. He's saying believe that God may be inside you.
No, but it's everywhere. It is. If you're talking about creation, like why do humans exist?
Well, no one knows. And if you look for,
I know why. It's to be creative.
Well, yeah.
It's
but-
we are the only thing that we are aware of at this stage which can fashion the universe that we dream of.
And do you know what's scary about that?
It is scary.
Because in 100 years, or just maybe 150 years, we basically come up with all this. We've gone from essentially having no massive technological advancements to like where we are now, and then we say that. I was listening to Joe Rogan, so it's kind of from this because it's a
Bro,
guy
I
that
love it. Keep it.
it's a guy that like who's from the Disclosure Project with aliens. Have you guys
No, what's his
heard
name?
of that? I have to find his.
I'll find it. Send to me. I'll put it in the show notes.
Because like honestly, it's pretty valid point. Basically, he was talking about the way that it sounds really weird, but
Just
the
out
way
with
that
the
you
jokes, come on.
the way that you communicate with aliens is that you create a thought with like massive intent that I'm gonna butcher the way he said it, but basically they can, because they're hundreds of thousands of light years away. To travel, they have to go through a dimensional shift, and so to do that, you have to create a frequency with a thought and an intent to like ripple through that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like talking about this, and Joe Rogan just put it so perfectly. He's like, if you took a cell phone back like 500 years and showed them, they'd be like, what even is this? You can like take a photo and send it across the planet and it's down there. That's just like, that just would have blown their mind. And we're only 500 years from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if this civilization's
Well,
been around
even
for
less, you're like
a
200
billion years? Like, we're not even going to be able to comprehend the technology. And it's actually an interesting
Well,
analogy from Carl Sagan. Where it's like, if you've got a person, or let's just say a person that exists in a two-dimensional plane, and so their entire existence is 2D, right? And then someone that's on a 3-dimensional plane, this makes more sense if you can see my hands, but a 3-dimensional plane reaches through that, what's the 2-dimensional person going to see? They're just going to see a cutout like this.
Yeah.
And they're not even going to be able to comprehend what's outside that.
Which is the point I was going to try and
until they get adjusted by a chiropractor, just saying.
Then you get 4D. I know, that's 4K vision.
7K.
Yeah.
HD twice.
What's quite interesting on the talking with aliens thing is that they do wonder as to whether the frequencies that they're using are so sensitive because their levels of communication and intent and thought are so advanced that we can't pick them up.
What if we think that the sound that we hear from the universe is not, how do we know that that's not them
But this
talking?
is the thing, we exist.
When you realise that everything's a vibration, it kind of is. Although no one actually knows what a neutrino is, despite spending billions of dollars in Antarctica on that.
But we caught one.
We did catch one. No, we measured it as it went past. We couldn't catch it.
But we exist on such a narrow bandwidth of frequency. Who's to say that's not infinite in either direction?
That's what weirds me out about colour. We can see 7 colours. I think.
Do you know what weirds me out about colour? How do you know that this is this the same to you as it is to me?
I freak out by that too.
Because is it an interpretation of your brain,
thing.
or is it hardwired program? This is what the colour is based on what it tells your brain.
Regardless, the sensitivity to that change is hardwired.
No, the problem is that our only way to express that is with noises coming from our face. That's the problem.
And
so as soon exactly.
External
so in 500 years' time, when we have the ability to actually communicate our brain waves and whatever vibrational experience, then we will have a much purer way of actually describing the experience.
I doubt that it's going to be in 500 years' time because Jesus was 2,000 years ago and we still use our face.
True. But to be honest, it's probably already been done to a smaller degree now. I mean, there's a Japanese company that managed to create images from people's thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, how scary is that?
Do you want to know? Oh, I love that research that looked at how dogs have a sixth sense. And how they got there. Did you see how they measured that with CCTV?
No. Oh, is that the one with the owners? They thought about coming home.
And then they were they gave them an envelope that said go home. And the second they started thinking about going home and making direction towards it, the dogs went and sat by the door.
That's so crazy.
The only way you can test that humans have remnants of a sixth sense is that everybody can pick up when somebody's staring at them.
Yeah, you just get that funny feeling.
Back, which is really funny because you try and give someone a fright, if you can see them and you're trying to sneak up on them and you know that they can't hear you, but you're I'm going to watch them, see if they see me, and I'm going to sneak up on them. Because they've picked up on your intent, they know you're staring at them, they turn around. If you look somewhere else and still sneak up on them, it actually works.
I used to do that as a class and I was bored, just stare at people until they turn around.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's something I heard, it's females are more receptive at being stared at and guys can have more influence from staring or something. There's some weird
That's
thing.
kind of interesting. There is a way to hypnotise too with just mimicking movement subconsciously, which is quite cool. I saw a doc on that once.
There's a book I want to read. It's written by a guy that was in the CIA or FBI or something about detecting lies. Apparently this guy was the guy that you go to.
Is this the guy that lip read and watches eye movement and things like that? Yeah. That blew my mind.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
He could tell whether you were subliminally lying without even knowing it.
Just learn that skill, so it's did you do your exercises? It's
liar!
The answer is always
you're in court now because your patient didn't
for?
progress and you've seen them 400 times. Can you please justify why they have not progressed? Well, I used this advanced form of lie detection to find out whether they did their exercises or not, and I can say that they didn't, so...
That's right.
I would train you, but it's going to take too long.
So David Fletcher spoke today, who is probably one of my favourite speakers of all time.
It's you in 20 years, Ben.
God, I hope so. He is the man.
He's a Canadian dude, right?
Yeah,
CLA. Yeah, he's epic. He was so good when he came to and spoke to our class.
Yeah.
I think I recorded that.
Me too. Yeah, he's still that good. But today he was on fire, man. He's speaking again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's so good. Anyway, something that he said, which was because he's got kind of facts and knowledge, and his brain frequency is just working at a different level, and I love it. But something he said today just really resonated with me, and I want to share that and kind of talk a little bit about it. So he said, Stevenson said it in 1933, and explained the power of the chiropractic adjustment in 2 words. And
I
it's
love
to
this, yeah.
arouse innate. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's cool. It's well, when you go into, there's like 4 levels of practice, right? So you've got like your type 1, which
Yeah,
is
it's a cool concept, yeah.
what most people do. Type 2,
Which is
well, I don't
structural
know,
change.
Yeah, structural change.
So it's structural change.
So you
So
become
I'm
like-
going to adjust the spine.
Yeah, you're a spinal mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get to level 2, which is where you can look at affecting the nervous system and brain.
So level 2 was neurological change.
Yeah. Then 3 and 4 are kind of, you can't really be in all the time because of the flavour of chiropractic and how it is socially at the moment. But you can definitely get there with some patients, which is cool.
It's going to happen. I personally, I
No, it's
believe
already
that.
happening.
I believe that's the future of chiropractic.
This is like one thing that I'm kind of curious about as well, is like with the frequency of being adjusted.
Yeah.
Is it so like with this research, are they effectively saying that you need to be adjusted almost every day?
No.
No,
is it
but he
like-
said something which I love, and again, so let's talk about the future of chiropractic, people, because we can, and this is the Chiro Companion. So he said something today. This is David Fletcher. Lay down on the table, and I will check you every day until you are clear. I personally love that.
That's pretty
I
good
think
way to
as a
put it.
concept, as an idea of chiropractic, that for me is chiropractic at its purest form. Is what is stopping you achieving your greatness, your creativity, your expression, your arousal of your innate? Well, you're subluxated. So why would I let you go a day, a minute, an hour being subluxated? So
Yeah.
I will check you every day until you're clear.
See, like, one thing, I've heard these stories of, like, old school chiropractors. I think this is awesome. Like, when someone, let's just say a local has a fever, right? And they're bedridden, and the chiropractor will go check them in the middle of the night. We don't need to adjust right now. And then he'll come back in like half an hour. Don't need to adjust right now. Keeps, like, coming in and out. And then eventually, the indicators will be there, adjustment, and then they'll come out of the fever. Like, the fever's necessary to serve a purpose, and there was no need to have an adjustment until the indicator was there or whatever, and they adjusted it, and the body was able to adapt or, deal with whatever. But I kind of feel like, are we kind of falling back into, like, more of a, and I only use this language because I know it's going to, like, stir it up.
Yes.
Are we going into more of a manipulative therapy now, where it's just about
We've
going
been traveling
through
down that way for a long time.
and cavitating the crap out of every joint?
Which
Or-
I find interesting. Okay, sorry, Finn.
Sorry, or are we gonna, stay to what has been proven to be very effective for less? I'm not saying that David Fletcher's wrong, because I do kind of like that concept of getting cheap regularly until you are clear. But I'm just curious as to, like, and I'm curious as to what the research says as well. Like, what is it saying that if we go
The
through and
research supports
manipulate every day, or are we going to adjust when we've got indicators and sort of pattern development and a bit more of a stand back approach and kind of watch and honour and let the body do what it does?
Very good point. I think the difference is if you are you an adjuster or are you a chiropractic checker? Because I check people and I adjust them when necessary.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to check you every day, and I'm probably going to adjust you on each visit because you're subluxated
Every day.
The thing is, though,
until you are clear.
in that sense, we're both the same. It's just our I don't know what to call this, like our
The
trigger
application.
point. Our trigger point of like where we're gonna pull the trigger and adjust something is slightly different. And mine's a
Yeah.
lot more conservative. I'm not
Probably.
saying it's better or anything, but
Neither
that's what I'm kind of wondering. Like, are they kind of saying the research is saying to be less conservative,
Not at all,
less
not at all.
specific?
I think what Ben's getting at is you can have findings,
Yeah.
but you're not subluxated.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's what I said, because like for me, and it's gonna be different for everyone. For
Like
me,
a
that,
glitch, if you're not finding anything, you're not looking hard enough.
And that's the difference, I think, between like patterning and a clear check.
Have you
Is
ever
are
found
there
if you-
findings
yeah.
or are there not? Really? Is-
Yeah. Have you
so-
found well, not for me. Patterning is something that you could probably adjust, but aren't going to yet.
Yeah, I'm saying
But
either
still
way you
can.
won't get adjusted, but
Yes.
there's still a very different reason why you're not getting adjusted. whether it's in that area or
so,
what. But
I mean, have you ever met a human being that you found no finding on? No edema, no heat, no nothing. No point tender, no bone tone, no nothing.
Oh no, but there have been people that I've clear checked. Granted, it's not many people because I truly think posture is just destroyed. It's an epidemic.
I've clear checked people, but that's solely because they've got some findings, they've got some heat, they've got some edema, but it's not enough for me to adjust it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree because that's the function of your body. You know, you have something wrong. Like let's just say I just trip a little bit and jerk my back. Like, you know, my body has a sort of adaptive range to deal with that. It's when it becomes maladaptive or unable to adapt is when you intervene. And I agree with you, like everyone's got muscle tightness in funky ways and stuff, but it really depends on what your definition or like idea of the civilization is.
I think that's where it also comes into like the whole thing that Bappy was talking about in technique mastery, like what's your hierarchy to adjust something, what do you need to adjust something, where your hierarchy is different to mine and Liam's and Ben's, and that's okay, but it just
it's not only okay, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, because
there's no right or wrong answer really, because we all
absolutely.
have patients that get better and we all have patients that sometimes don't get better, and they
that,
go see
that's
another
where it's good that
chiropractor.
you're different, because then I can go see James. He has a different set of core values. He still practices the same techniques, will adjust you in the same way, or similar ways, but he will look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So go see him and try it.
Yeah.
Don't give up on chiropractic just because I didn't work for you.
It's kind of interesting actually, like when you get a patient who used to see someone who you hold in like really high regard, and,
Totally have noticed.
and they seem like they look at you as if you're like the guru, just because like for some reason you just suit that person perhaps better.
Definitely.
And I think that's pretty cool. I've definitely had people like, you know, that I've sent on because they just weren't a good fit.
I'm going to share some of Ash's story. She saw a patient who was highly exposed to chiropractic. She'd seen a chiropractor for the last 12 years. And she had seen some very famous chiropractors who we hold in very high regard. And Ash toggled her, and it was the first time she'd ever had a toggle. And she was like, "What did you just do? That was amazing. I've never felt like this after an adjustment." And Ash was like, "What? You've seen these amazing chiropractors who are like 4 million times better than me? That's impossible. No way." Okay, toggle's really powerful, that's cool.
But that's where, like you were talking about this a little bit before, when you're thinking about the idea and an intent is how you talk with aliens, right? Well, we are all kind of aliens.
Yeah.
And how you talk to each other,
Yeah,
or even better, how do you do a chiropractic adjustment is your intent. And that's very, very different between the four of us. And I think that's where a little bit of the kind of magic happens in chiropractic that we don't understand yet. The science just isn't out yet.
Also,
So when I do an adjustment, it's going to be very different from when you guys do it.
yeah,
Because you have a different...
And this also depends on your mood. Like I was saying at the beginning, I was anxious, and you know that really does not translate into
I figured
good
this
practice.
out in college too. Like if I walk into a room and I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to get this adjustment," never happens.
Yeah.
The second I doubt myself, it won't work.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's quite interesting with the communication thing is as intelligence increases, verbal communication decreases, because you pick up more on like intuitive moods and body language, and that becomes far more expressive and communicative than verbal.
It's interesting actually. I'm just thinking about it. If you, let's just say you were going to go do like let's just say if your goal is to be as specific as possible in an adjustment, especially in manual technique,
Is
and then you...
Is this kind of a goal for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at people like Ian Rossborough, and he's like an absolute god in my eyes. Just like he's just a weapon adjuster, and that's actually what drove me to the gym, because I was like, I obviously need to develop like an athlete to be able to adjust as good as I want to.
Well, I actually personally think we are all athletes. I think it takes a lot of energy to adjust a lot of people. I've been working, like my primary chiros are away on holiday, so I've been working for them all week. I'm tired. Like, I'm physically tired from adjusting all week. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
We worked for money this week,
I know.
that's good.
yeah, but it's like you are an athlete in a certain way. Like, my peak contractions, I've done a lot of that this week. I've done a lot of like mini squats from side posturing.
You've definitely got to be work fit.
Yeah.
Like, you jump into like even 150 a week from like 20, you're gonna die. Like,
Well,
you're gonna feel like you're dying.
there's also the mental fatigue of it as well. You're using your brain a lot, especially when you're checking patients that aren't yours.
Yeah, because you're being extra.
Actually, I find
you're
it way
accepting.
more relaxing to see other people's patients.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is what they found. I'm like, oh yeah, can kind of see that, kind of see this.
So you find
So-
it more blasé with other people's patients because you've got a pattern of reference.
Well, I'm still thorough.
No,
but-
yeah,
Probably
I'm not
wouldn't
saying
say
not
blasé.
thorough.
yeah, I know what
Okay,
you mean though.
yeah, yeah,
Look
but-
at like I mean like if there's a pattern.
Fine, so you're more chilled with other people's patients because you've got patterning.
And also, I guess there's less of a like. Yeah, I guess.
Because you
you're
trust their pattern more than you trust your own.
Well, I don't know if it's
Or-
that. It's just like I don't know. It doesn't. I know it sounds kind
There's
of weird,
less
but
responsibility.
Yeah, less responsibility. I mean, you've still got a huge responsibility because you're
Yeah.
the.
But it's
Yeah.
less.
But yeah, it's not like you have to see them day in and day out, and you should never really be responsible for someone's symptomatic change, good or bad. But you are they are a patient of yours, you know.
Yeah, you're the.
Responsibility lies with both of you. If you're clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it and everything, then they should have some kind of guideline.
I'm just looking up. So before we were talking about research, like what research supports getting checked every day. So Dan Murphy presented at the New Zealand AGM earlier this year, and he had a paper that showed that.
See, what I would find interesting with getting checked every day and adjusted quite regularly, like, because realistically, if you're getting checked every day, you're probably going to get one adjustment at least every second day. Right?
'Cause-
Certainly initially. I worry that you become dependent on the chiropractor and not your body changing.
Yeah. Like that's my.
Disagree. What's the difference?
Well, one is that, like,
Are
so
you-
the whole idea is that you're training your body.
To become more adaptable.
Are you
and-
dependent on food for nutrition?
Yeah, but do you want to
Why
see...
does your body take care of nutrition?
Ben, do you want
To
to
me,
see
this is the
patients
same
every day
Just
for
be
the
a
rest of their
breatharian,
fucking life?
bro.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
But why would you need to?
Because then, like,
Well,
they're going to become dependent on it. They're going to plateau because they can't
Why?
progress past it without
But
chiropractic.
no, wait. Does your body actually get dependent on it though? Does your body
Yeah.
go, I'm gonna go into this position if someone doesn't like smash it back into the position?
Yeah.
I'm just like saying like, cause
Well,
like once a.
I
if
get
you
what you're
think-
saying. I just think it's a fundamentally flawed argument.
I don't know. I don't like if your body
the
is.
human body's inherently lazy. Like, if you do something for the body, right? So you isolate an elbow or something like that, then you're going to lose all your biceps and forearm muscles because
It's not inherently lazy. It's inherently efficient. So it will do the easiest
Prioritize.
thing.
yeah. And if the easiest thing is to just not worry about trying to deal with subluxation, like, or overcome subluxation, because it's easier to go see the chiropractor who will do it. You know, if you've got a fixation that develops into a subluxation over time because your body's not dealing with it, are you training your body? Are you training your body to stay fixated and then become subluxated so that you can go see the chiropractor,
but the
or are you
active-
training it
I
to
s-
become fixated and then overcome it and become back to normal functioning?
But the active adjusting of it repositions not only the joint but also fires a huge barrage of like proprioceptors, like all the stuff that you know about.
Yeah, which
So that-
releases endorphins and make you feel good.
Yeah,
The
and
problem
it
is
also
just that-
changes the way that the brain perceives that
100%.
joint. Yeah, so then I don't get what you mean by like
Because you're
dependent.
creating a repetitive pattern of when you have this issue with your, well, whether it's dysfunction, whether it's pain, whatever it is
I think
within
if
your
it's
spine.
dependent though, it's from their lifestyle. Like if they're not prepared to change, I see what you mean. Like if they're not prepared to change their lifestyle, that's perhaps contributing to
Yeah,
a
but figure
subluxation
like
occurring.
we're abstract thinking here, where we've got the perfect patient who's going to take all your advice, do all the yoga, change their diet. They're going to get checked every day. What I worry is that you're not going to give them enough of a chance to overcome fixation on their own before you adjust it as subluxation, or you're gonna train them into subluxation from fixation rather than the other way around, because then you become the dealer with it rather than the body, because the body's so efficient. It's just an idea.
I think it's a very good idea. I think the problem with the idea is that you're stuck in a physical model. This joint is fixated and it is not going to move well, so the body's best way of dealing with it is to go to someone else to move it for it.
Yeah, whereas
And
it's,
that's not the point of an adjustment.
it's going to move it if
No,
it
I
gets.
understand that, but what I wonder is if you're going to get stuck into a I guess because we're doing a.
But you have to remember as well, seeing a chiropractor.
Analogy, so it's not going to happen like that, but it's.
No, but even
the
with
physical
the
model happens sometimes.
But you have to remember that seeing a chiropractor is actually, like I could fall on my hip and adjust it. You know, if I had it the right
Like
angle.
the golden
and everything.
shuttle argument, yeah.
Yeah, so like, I forgot where I was going with that, but golden shuttles.
I think where you're going with that is if the force is in the right place, it creates a nervous impulse that stimulates the brain and alters your nervous system.
Well, I mean, there is the physical side of it, like the joint, if it's misaligned, fixated, whatever, there is that joint aspect to it, like meniscoids, like blah blah blah. You're gonna help correct the way that the joint's sitting in position. But then also by doing that, you inherently increase all the neurological stuff. So then if it starts to, and you have to remember the joints out, you got laxity. So the joint might slip out, but the brain might now go, hey, what are you doing? Like all our proprioceptions reset to here, and it will start to like perhaps use the active subsystems a bit more.
That's what I hope. That's 100% what I hope. But if you're using
but that
your
depends
active
on their lifestyle as well.
more, definitely.
Because if they're still barraging their body with stress, and if they're like, like you were saying before, my lower back's good, I'm gonna go do 3 times as much work.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I see what you mean. They're gonna be dependent on you to correct it, but it's not that their body is dependent. It's just that they haven't adapted enough to not need an outside force.
Yeah, but what I'm wondering about slightly is sort of like I'm just not explaining it right now. I think it's because my level of intelligence or understanding isn't there.
It must need to be adjusted, bro.
No, I just got adjusted.
Your innate is not aroused, effectively.
No, it's very aroused. There's a problem. I just can't get it out of my face. But what, like you were talking about with the subsystems and things like that, that are designed to overcome that beginnings of subluxation that starts with that laxity and fixation type things, right?
Would it be just out of curiosity, it would be passive first, right? Because as soon as you get tensile strength, the ligaments, because they don't obviously contract.
Yeah, it's passive first.
Passive and then active would help to draw, but then passive over time and get like stretched out.
And then active starts to isolate. And then, but so what I'm wondering is if you would possibly even through addiction train the body to not worry about the subsystems with over adjusting, because it knows that when you get adjusted you have endorphin release and you're affecting all the subsystems back to the right place.
If someone plays rugby every day, does their body just go, stuff it, I'm not going to worry about like my active subsystem, because they're getting hammered from all sorts of angles and everything and cavitated and that?
No.
What's the difference between that and a chiropractor?
No, you're thinking about it the wrong way, because you get conditioned to rugby from playing it every day, and what I'm saying is you get conditioned to chiropractic from being adjusted or checked every day.
Yeah, I'm getting conditioned to feeling awesome. I'm like, God.
Yeah, but if I stop playing rugby,
your body becomes so efficient with its adaptability that it loses some, potentially. Just entertain the idea.
I understand where you're coming from, but I just fundamentally disagree with that, because that's coming from a perspective where I have all this power and you need to come and see me as a chiropractor to get this amazing great thing. Whereas that's not your position as a chiropractor.
No, it's not where I want to be, but that's where I fear it'll end up.
Sure, but as a chiropractor, all you're doing is you're unleashing their innate potential. That's all it is. You're not giving them anything. They're not becoming dependent on it. You're just breaking down these subluxations, these blockages.
these quotes Dave Russell, nerve blockages.
Yes. So
quotations.
Exactly. These barriers that are holding them back. All you are doing is you're breaking them down and releasing them. So is someone going to be dependent on that?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you want to see every single one of your patients every day?
I don't feel like I need to. And the version of chiropractic that I want to create means that they're not my patients.
Okay.
They are the practice's patients. They are utilisers of chiropractic.
Call them what you want. You want to see them every day.
No. They are not dependent on me as a practitioner. They understand that they get more out of their life. They are more creative. They are more whole, not subluxated. So they themselves want to get checked regularly.
So you want to
And
create
it
the
doesn't
fear of
matter-
subluxation to see them every day.
The fear.
Yeah.
It's not a fear though. It's they can
Why
be
do you eat
better.
healthy? Are you afraid of eating bad?
The fear of dying before 100.
Okay, wait. I got an argument against that because I just listened
Go
to Joe Rogan with Aubrey de Grey,
Yeah.
which is an amazing podcast.
I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm waiting.
Oh my gosh,
looking
I've
forward
listened to it twice. So Aubrey de Grey is a guy who looks like Gandalf, kind of. He's just got this massive beard, and he's actively studying to prolong human life. And he reckons if he can prolong life by... Oh, okay, sorry, I'll reframe that. He's actively studying how to stop the damaging effects of aging.
Yep.
So basically, he said all horrible diseases we get due to aging can be prevented.
Or treated. Yep.
Yeah, and blah, 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 blah. And he said the average lifespan across the globe only varies by 10 years. So that's from like the lowest to the highest,
From
which I think
natural
is
causes.
Japan. Yeah, so like this is average lifespan. So just average lifespan. And eating a crappy diet and not exercising to living, chiropractic lifestyle, drinking good water, like good quality foods, everything. What would you say the difference between those two averages would be?
I'd say it's probably 20 years.
20 years? What about you guys? So someone who's like the picture of health versus someone who's a smoker, drinks.
Oh, if you're gonna add smoking in there, your chance of, like, I'd say drinking, but not smoking, because smoking's gonna kill you way sooner statistically.
Okay. Ashley, what do you reckon?
Because if you don't chuck smoking in there, I'll argue 40 years.
Yeah, I'd say 30, 25 to 30.
Sweet. Because you're all completely wrong. It's 4 years apparently. And that
4?
they've got all the research to back this up.
Wow. that's
So
interesting.
when you look at it that way, you would be a utilizer of chiropractic care because your lifestyle is going to be better, unsubluxated fact. It's like your lifestyle is better if you don't smoke and you drink moderately and you, in moderation I should say, and you you eat all the healthy foods, your lifestyle is going to be better. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing. Like,
It's
because
fascinating.
it's interesting how we all have this idea, and I thought it would be like 20 years, 30 years.
That does intrigue me, but I fundamentally disagree because heart disease is the biggest killer for, like...
We're talking averages though.
Yeah, no,
averages
but
still
like
quite
males in New Zealand have some of the worst heart disease on the planet, and it's like peak incidence starts at like 36.
Yeah,
Like, your
but
highest
those
risk
would be
factor is like 36.
yeah, but those
55.
would be outliers though. Like it does happen for sure. But the average, I think the average in Japan was the highest, and I think it was
Yeah,
like
Japan
82
was the
years or
highest.
something for males. It's crazy.
That's not bad as an average actually, which means you got some living to 100, some dying at 60.
And how long are they sick for as well? That's the other scary thing.
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I want. I don't care if I live to 80 or I live to 70.
Quality of life.
I'd be
yeah.
happy to live to 70 and have life to years, not years to life.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend the next 15 years in a rest home just like eating porridge and playing with knitting.
I can't find that research. I've been trying to find it. I will
No, that's
find it.
cool.
I'll put
I'd
it
be
up here.
curious. Might ask
It was
tomorrow.
presented by Dan Murphy, and basically the research paper looked at people who had chronic lower back pain, which was quote unquote incurable. So not relieved by medication, not relieved by chiropractic, not relieved by osteopathy, not relieved by acupuncture, not relieved by physiotherapy.
Was it relieved by curing laziness?
No. So and there was one other quote unquote treatment modality as well, but I forget what it was. Personal training, like gym
okay,
stuff.
okay, so laziness is out.
So they took all of those things and they said this cohort of people, so it was 200 something, I think it was 207 or so, with chronic back pain that was quote unquote incurable. So what they did with these people is they put them under chiropractic care, getting checked every day for X amount of time. I believe it was 8 weeks, something like that, and nearly all of them resolution.
That's cool.
So I think there was still like 10, 20 people out of the 200 or something that didn't get results. But in saying that, that's still 80%, over 80% improvement. And the difference was they had chiropractic before. The only difference is now it happened every day.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I think that's really, really interesting research
I mean,
that kind of at least kind of indicates that maybe there is something in, yes, you're subluxated and it's terrible for you and you shouldn't be in the state. So what's going to be the biggest?
I agree. And even with my statement and my position before, my only thought was a fear of developing dependence.
Sure.
I'd be very curious to trial it and see what happens. I probably can't get somebody to pay for all those visits.
I think the thing is like you may be seeing them every day, but are you seeing them every day forever? That's the thing, is like you said, I don't feel I need to, and that's because they do. You're still testing everything, you're still checking them, doing progresses, and they get to a point where, I'm not adjusting you. I might be adjusting you once a week or once a fortnight now. It doesn't mean you're necessarily getting adjusted all this time, and that's.
Why don't we try this? You could check me, or I could check you every day, and I'll check you once a week, or the other way around.
Love experiment. Write it up. Do it.
No,
I've been thinking about doing a bit more research and just literally like taking case studies.
This 45 hours a week, but I will do it, and I will.
But you take notes. Just take notes. That's all you need to do, and then literally do a case study.
So like it's interesting because
I run the case study interviews.
should check out I don't know the exact study or whatever. It's just kind of stuff that I've read, like flicking through things. But some of BJ Palmer's studies were like pretty incredible. Like he would check people like 100 times and adjust them once, and like that's kind of where I'm kind of a little bit torn between. Should I be adjusting more things than I am, or am I?
Okay, so this is quite cool. If you're gonna check somebody, what's the most important area to check?
The spine.
Yeah, what level of the spine?
All vertebrae are just as important as each other.
Okay.
Didn't expect that, eh?
No, I did.
What?
I did. I expected you to give the most vague answer. That didn't mean that you didn't really give an answer.
Well, it's true though. I mean, like, it could be C1. C1 probably has the biggest effect on the body if subluxated.
Yeah.
But if C3 subluxated,
so if you
that's
could check,
the most
if you could
important.
check one vertebra for subluxation and none of the others, which one would you check? Just out of curiosity. It's a purely.
Yeah,
it's not
I guess.
It's not
C1.
C1,
yeah.
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 Lock it in.
Yeah.
Good job, Dobbo.
Yeah, you win, Dobson.
Yeah.
Well, but I would 100% agree with that. Forced to pick only one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not a literal
Well, it makes
situation.
sense because it's at the base of the skull. It's like the first port, like
the majority of
What's
our nervous system runs
It
through
has the biggest
most
impact
progressive.
on the rest of the body.
So of course you would.
It has the potential to affect almost the entire nervous system.
Yeah. So you made a really, really good point before. Getting checked every day. Good luck affording that. And that's where I think the future of chiropractic has to be completely remodeled and done in a very different way. So right now it would make no sense. Because, I mean, there are people that could afford the $50.
Average price is like, what, $51 a visit?
The average price in New Zealand is $50 per adjustment is what the studies
Yeah,
show.
which isn't quite right.
It's not a check.
Per visit.
So then you kind of go, oh, okay, is that even right? But technically, if you are someone in the public, that is what they're paying for.
Yeah, they're paying. Well,
Under the current model of chiropractic.
Well, under the current model of everything, they're paying for results.
Sure.
Depending on what you're measuring and what you're telling them you're changing,
I
and
think that's
showing
what it
them
should
you're
be.
changing,
actually.
is dependent on what the result is. If your only base model is pain, that's all you're ever going to change. If your base model is posture, your base model is your nervous system scanning, your range of motion, your not just
muscle
your range,
strength,
but also your fluidity of motion and your quality of movement and your muscle strength and your different tests like that, then you're not just going to have pain, and you're going to have a far better and far more detailed version of chiropractic.
It's kind of interesting that just brought up. Remember after we did the first podcast and we were chatting and you asked me like what kind of patients I like seeing, and I didn't really know at the time. It caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Then I was just like, I really like seeing patients that are acute or like, really helping people that are at that breaking point kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's just like, but I'd say that I don't think that chiropractic is only like a pain relief thing. It's just I enjoy that kind of case.
Yeah.
And then you're like the opposite, where you want to, like promote people just being better and like unleashing that potential that we all have. And it's just kind of funny that you might have in the future perhaps, like a chiropractor that you see for like an acute case, and it's like, okay, now go see like this guy. He's a
That is my
chiropractic
dream.
chiropractic
Oh my
spine
God.
trainer. So like
Which is
basically
funny.
you have like an A&E, and like people
Yes.
come in and they get maybe a
I was
very
think-
specific adjustment just to
Yeah.
get them through that, and
Yeah.
then they
I was
go
thinking
out
about
to,
that today. We had the guy Tom, what's his
spinal
face,
gyms.
which was I'll find his name. Tom.
Oh, the Dr.
Tom Mulholland, hilarious, really good speaker. Anyway, I was thinking about that today because he was a ED GP or a ED doc, and I was like, imagine that if we had like hospitals that had chiropractors in them, and you went for an emergency and there was a chiropractor who checked you
That'd be so.
and then adjusted you. Like,
To be
how cool is
honest,
that?
if my
Oh,
arm
God.
came off and like there's blood pumping out of my like shoulder socket.
Yeah, no, but they wouldn't do that for
I
you.
don't know.
But imagine,
I'm
but
just-
imagine if you got in and you like. So the example that this guy had was as a stab victim who was like handcuffed and pretty awful person saying that he's doing.
Spitting at
He
everyone.
literally goes, well, the first thing I'm going to do is eyeball the patient. So on with the safety glasses because I don't want spit in my eye because that's gross, and then I have to fill out lots of paperwork.
Yeah, so fun, so fun. But then obviously there are people and medical doctors take care of that kind of acute trauma horribleness so well. But then imagine if they managed that, and then a chiropractor came in and checked them.
Actually, do you know what really,
be so cool.
really deeply annoys me? And it's because it's happened to me actually. Concussion is so badly managed. So badly managed.
And
Like,
so common.
man, when I had a concussion from like working on a building site, and even knowing what I know, I know it's kind of funny, but even knowing what I know, I was an intern at the time.
I know.
And I basically like went in there. They showed like I was looking over her shoulder into a direct light, straight into a light, and she's trying to shine a lamp into my eyes, and she's like, "Oh no, it's okay." I'm like, "What are you even looking for?" Like seriously, and then I was just out of it though. I
Probably-
wasn't even like with it enough to kind of understand the situation I put myself in until the next day when I almost like blacked out just from reading.
What she meant is it's okay, you're not going to die this minute.
Yeah, but it's like that scares me, and you know I've had a couple of younger patients, like kids, that are just the upper cervical and the neurologicals are just all over the place because they've
Messed
had a
up, man.
concussion and it's just gone under the radar.
Mm.
The problem is chiropractic is not out there enough.
Well, I think
People don't understand what it
think
is.
any
Understand what we
physical.
do. People don't understand what we can help.
People think it's a physical therapy.
Yeah.
That's what has been sold as
Yeah.
for the last 20 years
An
of
element
chiropractic.
of it is, and so you can't actually blame people for jumping to that conclusion. Because
I'm not blaming anyone. I'm saying
no,
it's
but-
wrong and should be done better.
Yeah, exactly. We don't do much to change it. I know we do as a group of 4, but chiropractors in general don't do much to change that analogy. I'm sorry they don't. Everybody in our town where we markets with pain. Everybody, except us.
Well, but what was the thing that you said today, which is so good about an idiot?
Don't argue with an idiot because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience.
Exactly. So what are we doing? We're going to the lowest common denominator because it's easy. It's
Well,
easy
that's
to
the
say.
thing. The catchment group for pain is huge. This is what I was saying, like observing, and this is why I was laughing at both of you because it's quite cool how you were talking about like you love acute patients and you love like long-term patients, right? I love long-term patients because you see spectacular results in their day-to-day life, not just their pain. I love acute patients because they're ready to listen.
Yeah.
They're in a position where they're feeling vulnerable, they're
Hopefully.
trusting what you're going to do,
Not all the time.
and not all the time, but in general, they're the most accepting of chiropractic ever. Whereas you take somebody who's moderately healthy and try and convince them that they need you, even though they've never had you before, and they're like, I don't care, I've got this fur.
And saying that though, I found like recently in the last couple of weeks, just as my confidence and my adjusting skills and just, you know, just relaxing into it really, I found like a lot of people that are in that kind of, they're healthy and fit kind of thing, I'm getting adjustments where they're just like, whoa, that feels like so much, like I feel like I can move so much easier.
Well, they have no idea how crap they are because
But-
they've never had a chiropractic.
But that's
awesome.
that's the thing though, like that just it comes down to partly your education and, you know, I mean, if they're gonna accept that what you do is helping them perform better, then great. If they don't,
Oh, and
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong,
I know
I'm
what you
able to
mean,
convince some of them, but if you've got someone who comes into your door who's in a lot of pain and they're hoping that you can help them, they're going to listen to what you have to say.
That's
If you're trying to convince somebody that it's something they should probably have in their life, they're not going to take it as seriously because it's not immediately important to them because they're suffering the consequences.
Yeah.
The only reason for that, and I think this is where chiropractic is, the definition has been wrong for a really long time, because similar to the germ theory, you've just taken the current model and applied a different theory on top of it. It's now demons, we've just replaced that word with germs. So now pain or discomfort, you can take medication for that, but you can use chiropractic for that as well, because we're effective at it, because we make people feel better, which is a wonderful thing. I'm not disregarding it at all. Yeah, but the problem is that you are stuck in this model because that's the measurement. That's what the general public, I'm using air quotes, general public care about. How do I feel? That's what's important, because that's what they've been told their entire life.
Yeah.
You go and see any medical professional. How do you feel on a 0 to 10 scale?
And I think that's
Shit measurement.
why I love working with mums and like kids, is because you talk to a mum and it's yes, part of it is how their kids are feeling, but they want the best for their kids.
Yes.
And they want them to become whatever they want and do the best that they can and be the best that they can be. And so I think that's why that market, for want of a better word, is such an awesome place to start to create this change, because you think if every single child was under chiropractic care from birth, they are going to grow up with the chiropractic values and understanding of health and wellness, and they're going to live such amazing lives. And so if
Preach. Amen, sister.
so like, yes, I understand like all of the different elements and everything, but that is, I think, a really, really, really important place to get your communication.
So much so.
Yeah,
Right.
So
so
much
how
so.
cool is that? Because the kids always get it. Alright, and you had a really cool experience last year because you were seeing 2 people of a 4-person family. And it was really, really nice because they had some issues going on, they progressed well through care, and then it got to winter and they were the only 2 in the family that didn't get sick. And you really opened their eyes as to being like, okay, so why didn't you get sick? If you, like, the way germs work, statistically everyone in your household should have got sick because you're all exposed to it.
But you're talking about symptoms again, bro. What's your measurement? I didn't get sick because that's how I feel.
No,
It's
but
incorrect measurement.
No, but you weren't expressing symptoms because your system had already dealt with. You had enough energy and enough of an efficient nervous system. And
I agree, but did they know that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that
okay.
Once
like,
they opened
it
up,
was-
that's what I'm saying. You got to
Okay,
open
cool.
your eyes to be like, look, you didn't get sick. Why didn't you get sick? Oh, I had the flu jab, so that's why. No. Your daughter didn't have the flu jab, so why did the 2 of you not get sick despite living in the same household, eating the same food, having the same routine? It was because you 2 are getting adjusted. That's the only thing that's different in your lifestyles. How awesome is that?
The measure is different, and I this is my personal opinion, and you're entitled to it. My
I don't know,
personal
you're the one
problem.
who measures everything, so you open my eyes.
Exactly. So that's my personal problem, and that's something that I dream about creating for a brighter, better chiropractic future, is having greater abilities to measure the function of a person's entire being.
Well, in a way
Not
that
just
is-
how you feel,
Yeah.
not just how your muscles
I feel
perform.
like
Not a
CLA, how they
subjective-
have that score.
But that's,
And I
not,
think
that's
that's
not a
amazing.
subjective finding
That's the
anyway.
future,
It's
man.
an objective finding because I'm observing that they're not expressing symptoms.
The thing is though, you have to remember that we're all highly educated in this stuff, so it kind of makes sense to us. But CLA, from my understanding, last time, when they came and spoke to us, they're going to put in that score thing. They're going to be able to use technology
Heart rate
like
variability, yeah.
I was talking
Yeah.
about to D Fletcher today about
with
it
the
again.
Fitbit and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Exactly.
I mean,
Well,
like-
people are walking around now. You can download a heart rate variability
I know,
app on your phone.
Do you know what annoys me? I don't carry my phone when I'm practicing, and then I pick it up and it's like, you haven't done enough steps today, and I'm just like,
Do you know what
something
annoys me? You
blasted
actually
into
do
the
like
ground.
next to no steps while practicing because thrusts don't count.
It depends. See, the trick is you got to get 2 rooms and walk between them.
yeah.
That's how you do it.
actually, buying a sort of roller chair was like the best thing ever. Just like, sitting all behind.
Well, especially
Yeah,
for you, because you
well
do
done.
all your checks seated.
True, yeah. That's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
So what's the future of chiropractic for you guys? What's your dream? What's your vision? What do you
For
want to happen?
us or for the profession?
Both.
I think there's a model currently that I'm aiming towards, and that's probably what Hayden has in Nelson.
Yeah, Hayden Thomas from Equilibrium
Yeah,
Chiropractic.
yeah, definitely.
Shout out, what a man, he's so cool.
He's got it now. He's got it now. If you want like my vision and idealistic version of what my personal practice would be like in 5 years' time, that's it.
Cool. Good choice.
For me, it would be a cross of that with, for now, family chiropractic.
Because of the pediatric component.
Yeah, I think that's for changing the perception of chiropractic. I think that is a huge step in the right direction, and you know, if we want to make the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time, I feel that that's the way to do it.
Exactly.
Imagine if you were called out to like in Omakara. I stumble on that word every time. Really annoys me.
Just call it Omak, bro. It's easy.
In Omakara. Imagine if the midwives called you for every baby that was born and said, "Hey Ash, can you come out and check this baby?"
Yeah,
And whether you adjusted them or not doesn't matter. The fact is they got checked after birth.
Well, ideally, I want to be checking the mother for the entire pregnancy before that as well. So
we had a
that
cool experience
Love it.
with Ella. Yeah. So, so she's a baby.
Yeah.
And I checked her mum while she was in the womb. You probably know who I'm talking about, but we won't name names other than Ella the baby, which is.
There's like millions of Ella the baby.
Yeah, so that what was quite funny is we were hanging out with her the other day, and for whatever reason she was just real smiley towards me and real happy, and I was like, I wonder if it's something to do with her picking up with the frequency of my voice, because I've spoken to her so much through the womb.
Probably.
Because I saw her like 2-3 times a week for quite a while.
It's the frequency of your vibration, bro.
Yeah.
Picking up on it.
Oh yeah, it's the way it was, but
That's right.
I was like, it's either that or it's because he's funny looking.
Yeah, but normally that makes them cry, and it's the effect that happens with 90% of them, that's just why I give them to you.
Kids always stare at me, I think, just because I'm tall.
Yeah.
Just like,
They're like, whoa.
I've never seen a thing that's so big.
You can reach the cookie jar.
so funny.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was quite a neat experience. I have no idea if it was to do with that. I like to assume it was.
Don't assume. I love it.
It was.
There's
cool.
no evidence to reason why not.
No, there's actually no reason. There's evidence to prove that it could be because they can hear you. But yeah, that's quite neat.
What about you, James?
Well, I think you guys have it covered in terms of chiropractic being a more accepted and more utilized thing in our community, which I think is absolutely what we need. My kind of vision is just to be the best that I can personally be, and I don't say that to be selfish, it's just I know that if I can...
That's not a selfish thing to say.
Because I think, I mean, look at people like Ian Rossborough again, like, you know, that guy is just like the Michael Jordan of adjusting in terms of what I've seen. And that's just like totally inspired me to be better, as good as I can, like an athlete, like we've discussed in them before.
That's profound to me that you've just said that. I don't mean that.
Well,
because it's not a selfish thing to say. Because it's a selfish thing to say if you want to say, I want to earn as much money as I can. That's a kind of a selfish thing to say. But to say, I want to be the best that I can be, because we all know that you mean technique, specificity, adjusting, and just being the best chiropractor that you can be. Sure. That's not a selfish thing to say.
Yeah.
Because you're serving people.
That's true. I guess like I want to be the best I can be, but then I also want to impart that onto the next generation. So
that's where your teaching comes in.
Yeah, and that's I've always loved teaching and like helping students, and sometimes I feel like I learn more than they do, even though I'm teaching them. So, but it's pretty cool. And so my kind of future vision is I want to, be inspiring the next generation to actually look a lot closer at the art side of chiropractic, because I feel like in a way it's kind of, I'm not going to say lost, but I think when you see people that have a bit of flavour in their technique, I think it's really quite something to behold. And just watching some of the older guys in our profession, they make it look so easy, and I don't know, I just always found that really fascinating. So yeah, it's like
That's cool, man.
yeah, watching BJ Palmer adjust and things like that. It's pretty epic.
That is epic. It's amazing how that amazes me. It amazes me. Like
it's amazing how much it's changed yet stayed the same. Like
yeah.
Well, I'm just amazed that the philosophy's stayed the same within our group of chiropractic for 100 and nearly 21 years. I think that's profound. That's awesome.
That's what I'm curious to learn a bit more about. So hopefully next time we chat, we'll have a bit more, like, I'll be a bit more clued in about it. It's just like, I want to learn more about how the forefathers of our profession used to adjust, and like the frequencies and like what they kind of did around the systems and that kind of thing, and then look at the modern research and just be like, you know, because obviously what they did was effective. And there's a couple of ways to think about this. Perhaps in the modern day human, there's so many more toxins, so many more stresses, so many more things to occupy our time that we don't have time to recover and adapt like we used to. So perhaps we do need a more frequent adjustment.
Or perhaps in modern times education is better, and so they're less trusting of doctors. Because like people are skeptics these days. Like everyone Googles everything. Like no one. If I say to you there's 480 million people in the world, you're going to Google how many people are around the world, not take my stat as a truth.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what I mean by skeptics. I don't mean in a huge
Yeah,
scale.
just people double check things.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can.
And I think that's cool.
But
maybe the education isn't quite correct, especially around chiropractic. I don't think the education is correct because people have no idea what we do. Oh, you're the guy who clicks backs. And like when we were having a conversation with Hayden before, and we were like talking about patient interaction, it was like we get people all the time who are like, my back's fine. That's right. And then I'm like, well, what if I told you it's not about your back? And then even if that's all I get in, it makes them think.
Just say, how's your brain?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's already stuffed if they're like, thinking that it's just about their back because they're closing off to it without wanting to be open. So if you can open them up, even with a comment like that, like how's your brain, then it's amazing because you can actually blow their mind. I honestly don't think there's a single person that I've sat down and like had a conversation with that hasn't understood that chiropractic is more than just the spine. I think that's the thing. It's the people at screenings who walk past and say there's nothing wrong with my back, it pisses me off.
Yeah, screenings don't suit me at all because I'm not good at just that fast-paced like interaction that kind of has to go on or scripting things. I'd rather just sit down and connect with someone. But some people are really good at it. But the thing I'm getting at is like, you know, if they say something like that, you're kind of in that sales kind of like mode. Like
you're in a sales environment.
So they just go, oh, he's trying to sell me something. I'm shutting off. I'm going away. My back's fine. And I know it's just funny when you actually connect with people.
I think you're a bit of a fool if you're not selling something because you.
I'm not. You have to. Like I'm not saying that you don't have to. I'm just saying in that environment when people say, "Oh no, my back's fine," it's just like I reckon if you actually sat down with them and in a environment like this sort of thing and chatted to them, I think they would get it.
That's what I mean with the thought thing. Because if I'm trying to get them to think, so that the next time they see me or another chiropractic sign, they make that thought of, "Oh, that's right. That guy made that comment of." How's your brain? Or what if it's not about? What if it's not entirely about your spine?
And I think that's where it comes back to the person from Amplified. Is it's like if we're putting the right messages out there in different ways. So this person's met us at a screening and they've learnt that it's actually not about backs or it's not about cracking spines or something, and then they see something from another avenue that is, you know, chiropractic is actually for your overall health, or, you know, something that is actually quite, again, changing. And I think if people get exposed to that in different avenues, they start to trust it because it's not just one person or one avenue saying that. They're suddenly surrounded by all these different things and they go, oh, it is...
And it becomes general perceived opinion.
Yeah, it becomes more of the social norm.
And they make
and
the
that's
choice.
what I was talking
Absolutely.
about, social license.
Yeah.
It's actually it's kind of funny, just the way people think about like chiropractic care. Like the gym that I go to, I was talking to one of the
first world country social
the trainers there, and she wanted to come because she's got pain in her toe that's going to painting her toe from running. She's super fit. Like she runs like 20 k's like nothing, and she's pretty strong in all regards. Anyway, she's got toe pain, and she was like, "Can you help with it?" And I was like, "Well, this is what we do. We improve the function of the body, blah blah blah. I can't say for certain that this will disappear, but I think that
it's worth your time trying.
Yeah, it'd be worth trying. And if it doesn't, if that doesn't disappear, I know that the other side effects of chiropractic are going to benefit you." She's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And I saw her like running on a treadmill, and I was like, "Oh, yeah," like noticed her leg was like, I looked at her gait and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, maybe it could be something from the hip," and explained it to her, and she got that. And then a few days later, I just saw her like sitting there, and her head was like tilted. I just said out of curiosity, I was like, "Oh, do you ever get headaches?" And she's like, "Yeah, oh my god, I get headaches all the time." And I was like, "Oh, like I see a lot of patients that have headaches, and one of the things that they report is that it often gets better. But they also have more energy and that kind of stuff. It's just like people kind of just associate it with like one little thing, but unless you actually open that up and just start probing with questions, you'll never really.
When I was Baptiste in college, always said to me, always ask your patients just to spark that thought of how would you feel if I adjusted you somewhere there wasn't pain. So if they're coming with a lumbar complaint, right, or a cervical complaint, and you adjust their lumbar or you adjust their cervicals, which is not where the pain is, how are they going to feel about that? And the answer always is, well, if it's going to help me, that's fine. And I haven't come across a different answer, so I can't say it always is. But
I'd say a good like 60% of the time. Oh, maybe, yeah, at least 60% of the time, probably more than that, is adjusted 2 or 3 segments away from where that pain actually is.
Yeah,
Really
I'd agree with that, which is quite cool. And that's why I love that conversation, because then you can go on to explain about the interconnectedness of all things. It's quite cool.
What did Phil call it? That patient, he was like, "Oh, you're talking about the fundamental interconnectedness of all things."
Yeah. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
As the biker, Phil was talking about this guy who comes in with a big beard, and he like rides his Harley up to the front door, kicks the bike down, takes off his helmet, slams it on the bike, walks in and wants to get checked, and Phil's like, "Do I give him the speech? I don't know if I really want to give him the elevator speech about innate intelligence and how there's universal intelligence as well, and how it all happens above, down, inside out." He's like, "Well, I did make a commitment to myself that I would give this to everyone. So here he goes." And this guy just turns around and hasn't said much after this, throughout this whole thing, and he gets to the bit with about innate intelligence, etc. And then the dude just goes, "Oh, you're talking about the fundamental interconnectedness of all things." It feels just like,
is that where it came from?
Well, it's actually a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quote.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, turns out this guy was quite well read and had read the book."
Apparently he's a philosopher or
He's
something.
really philosophical, and so Phil used to book him as his last patient every week so that they could just have a yarn for like an hour.
So man.
Which was cool.
How cool is that?
Hence the name Phil Officer.
That's right. That's brilliant. The future is an exciting time. Thank you guys for coming on the Chiro Companion today. It has been so much fun. This will be happening again. Everyone at home, remember, you are crucial to the evolution of the human experience. Go out there and start a Chirosation today. I'll see you again soon.